Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 AM, The Fan in beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I always say beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin every day. But today probably is the last warm day we're going to have, if we're being honest. High of 86 today in October, on October 3rd in Milwaukee. And by the weekend, we're supposed to be in like 54 or 55 for a high. So that's about the fun of it. Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight, part of the BetQL Radio Network. Trista Crick, Nick Ashu. Every weeknight while you're watching the games, tune these guys in for entertainment, fun, and some great information, making you some money. Follow Ryan Horvat on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Saturday mornings, his college football show, Tailgate to Kickoff, which is outstanding. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time on 1250 a.m. The Fan if you're in the Milwaukee area. If not, wherever the time zone works for your area, make the adjustments. I'm not going to go every time zone. Horvat, real quick. So I'm hosting, filling in for Gabe Kuhn this week on 92.9 ESPN Memphis. And at the end, I didn't know this, but they have a deal with FanDuel. So I have to make a pick of the night. I had no idea. So Monday's the first show yesterday, right? And
yeah,
I was like, oh, you got it. I'm like, dude, I don't gamble. I'm like, great. I got to figure something out. Man, who's the man? I got lucky. I said, okay. I said, Seattle covers the spread, was 3.5, whatever. I'm like, Daniel Jones sucks. He throws 2 interceptions. That's my prediction for tonight's game. Daniel Jones threw 2 interceptions. Seattle rolled over the New York Giants. I was like, I got lucky. I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do tonight now for Tuesday, but I don't even know what is actually being played tonight that I could actually gamble on tonight. But I think I have to do this every single night. So I got to figure out something for tonight, Horvat.
Baseball postseason. You're not going to take your Brewers? Don't you have Corbin Burns? I like the Diamondbacks.
I don't care if we have Corbin Burns. The gut punch of losing Brandon Woodruff is a big deal. It's a big, big deal. And then they made a horrible decision on their roster. Jesse Winker, who's been in the minors for like the last month sucking, makes the postseason roster over Garrett Mitchell, who just came back off of being hurt and was playing relatively well here this last week. Makes no sense. Rowdy Tellez not on the wild card roster either. They went for Josh Donaldson and Owen Miller over Rowdy Tellez. I just think the gut punch of Brandon Woodruff might be a problem. We'll see. We'll see how they rebound off of it.
Yeah, I'll be actively cheering against you guys. I'd like to say something different, but I want you guys to lose, and I want it to be really painful for the way that the Milwaukee fans treated my Cubs and me on social media after we were eliminated. Kind of want the same for you guys.
What happened?
Oh, no, I mean, like, it's just a lot of trash talk from the Brewers to the Cubs. Oh, you guys suck. Fly the L.
Kind of like the Bears fans to the Packers prior to the season, thinking Jordan Love was going to be awful and the Packers were going to be horrible and Justin Fields was going to be the MVP. And whoops, yeah, they were wrong on all the courts.
Yeah, well, it's only fair, you know.
Yeah, I don't think
we'll hang the L. We'll watch you guys hang the L, and we'll all hang the L together and watch the Braves win the World Series. Because
I don't think they're going to lose to the D-backs this series. I do think the Dodgers are going to be a problem if Woodruff can't pitch, and based on how choked up Woodruff got, I can't imagine he's pitching. So I don't think they can beat the Dodgers without Woodruff. I think that's going to be tough unless this offense catches fire. Then anything is possible because Miley has pitched well this year. Who will obviously replace Woodruff in the rotation. All right, let's get to the Packers. Obviously, it is occurred and long. We talk Packers football here. Okay, so it's 4 in. And 4 weeks in, 4 games. Packers are 2-2. If I would have told you, Ryan Horvat, prior to the season, they'd be 2-2 through their first 4 going into that Raiders game in a bye week, would you have taken it?
Yeah. It's a tough schedule. I'll say yes, because you beat the Bears like you should, right? So you're not the biggest disaster in the NFC North. You're not even close. That would be the Bears and the Vikings. You beat the Saints, who I think are a little overrated, but that's a good NFL defense. You would have liked to beat Atlanta, and I was high on Atlanta coming into the season, but now we've seen Desmond Ridder, and he's an absolute problem for that offense. Like, I think he should have been benched weeks ago for Heineke. I really legitimately think he should have been benched in that Green Bay game. They won despite him. So, yeah, I would take it, but I would still be kind of pissed because the reason that you lost that game and the reason that you lost the game against Detroit is still because you can't tackle, you can't stop the run, right? Like, you're still, like, last season you were dead last DVOA against the run, and you know, we got to hear the same stuff. Joe Barry saying, well, we will fix this. It's like, I don't know, man, because we got a big enough sample size where I don't think you can. So as far as the record, 2-2 in the overall like statistics for Jordan Love, I would take all of that. But like when you go back and you really think about it, it would really be nice to be 3-1 because you should have beat Atlanta. And if you're 3-1,
yes,
you know what I mean? You're right. You're right there with Detroit atop the NFC North. They have the tiebreaker. But so yeah, 2-2 sounds great. It's just damn, that one sucks because they're not what I thought they were.
And, if you're on the outside looking in and you're not a Packer fan and you're listening to Kurt and Long, you're going, yeah, but y'all got lucky in the Saints game because the kid missed the field goal. So really, I mean, you could argue as much as they could be 3-1, they could very easily be 1-3, and the Saints make that field goal at the end of that game, and then there's not nearly as much positivity around this team if they're 1-3. I know it's only a 1-win difference, but 2-2 versus 1-3 is a huge difference as far as how people look at you as a team, going into week 5 and into the rest of the regular season. Right now, you tell me what you think. I think this locker room is buying into Jordan Love. I think he's shown enough to where this locker room is like, yeah, his kid's legit. Like, we're good. We're okay. I don't know necessarily if that is being said in New York about Zach Wilson. I don't think they're buying in that Zach Wilson is the guy that's going to lead them the rest of the year and they can win games. I do think this locker room believes Jordan Love can win them games and put them in a position to be pretty good by the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and that's kind of what you wanted this season, right? Is you just wanted to see, is Jordan Love that guy? Because I don't really have big expectations for this team. That's why this year to me just kind of is what it is. I mean, like, I'm not really getting bent out of shape. The wins are nice, but every year as a fan, usually, like, I thought this team would have a shot to win a Super Bowl, and this team, I can't make the case for them.
No, there was no Super Bowl or bust coming in with a first-year starter. Like
I'm more into like what the Bills are up to right now and what the Chiefs are up to right now. Like the Packers, to me, it's kind of, again, it's not disappointing. It's just 2 years ago we were watching Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and now we're watching Devontae Adams in Vegas. I don't know. I mean, so this year it's just like who could play and who can't, and so far so good, I'd say.
Let's talk about Tom Clements' comments about Jordan Love, shall we? Tom Clements, the Packers quarterback coach, said Jordan Love is, quote, an accurate passer, end quote, despite the completion percentage. Quote, we like to have a higher completion percentage, but there's a lot of things that factor into that. Sometimes you're throwing the ball away. Sometimes you drop the ball along the way, end quote. And this comes from Ryan Wood's Twitter account the other day when Tom Clements talked on Monday. Would you agree that he's an accurate passer when Jordan Love through 4 games?
Yeah, I would say he is. Like the problem has been the drops, and also, I mean, it's this is the other thing where I need a bigger sample size because I'm just starting to see Jordan Love now with this full complement of weapons. Like I didn't really get to see Jordan Love with Aaron Jones and Christian Watson, but
you still didn't see him really with Aaron Jones, to be fair.
Right, and that's the other thing. Like I haven't really loved the play calling. So when Jordan Love's looked bad, I haven't really fully blamed it on Jordan Love, but yeah, he's been more accurate than I thought, for sure.
Yeah, the deep ball's got to get better. Obviously, he's missed some throws downfield where he's had guys and has overthrown guys. So obviously that has to improve. But I would say in large part, when he misses or they have incompletions, either it bounces off the receiver's hands or the DB just simply puts his hand in at the last second when it's headed straight for the receiver's hands, and it's deflected away. Like I don't feel like he's been off target necessarily a ton. Tom Clements continues on Jordan Love. Quote, you always anticipate what a player is going to do when he becomes a full-time starter. He's confirmed our thoughts. He's a good player. End quote, Tom Clements. Ryan Horvat, back to you. 4 games in. Has Jordan Love done more, less, or about the same of what you thought he would be coming into the season?
About the same, I would say. Now, like, I didn't know, like, as far as like stats and as far as, expectations, I'd say, yeah, just kind of like what I expected from Jordan Love. This is, I would have been surprised if he was putting up like Patrick Mahomes type numbers. Yeah, everything kind of looks about right to me. This is kind of what I thought that he would be.
Now, the other part of this, I think, when you talk about if it's Aaron Rodgers, if it's Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, whoever you want to say, we always talk about red zone efficiency. How good is your team in the red zone at scoring touchdowns or even getting points at this point versus something else? Packers rank 4th in red zone success. This comes from Paul Brettel. And red zone success rate, scoring a touchdown nearly 70% of the time that they've been in the red zone so far this year. Even more impressive is that they've done this with a struggling running game Adam Stenavich, who people forget is the actual offensive coordinator, former offensive line coach, said on the red zone, quote, a lot of it starts with running the ball. And that's always the number one thing in the red zone that you want to try and do. But I think we've had some pretty good plans and able to attack defenses. Then our guys having the right mentality. You get the ball, you get vertical, and you go score. That's the biggest thing. There have been some things we have to clean up down there, but that's been a pretty good spot for us so far. Is it more impressive to you, Ryan Horvat, that they're at a 70% clip scoring touchdowns in the red zone, considering, like has been pointed out, they really haven't run the ball well?
Yeah, it is, because I mean that's been the biggest disappointment for me with this offense is they just can't get the run going, right? And a lot of that has to do with you have a beat up offensive line right now. Obviously, David Bakhtiari is going to miss the rest of the year. Elton Jenkins is dinged, and you haven't had a healthy Aaron Jones, and even when he has been healthy, you haven't really featured him for whatever reason. You've been featuring AJ Dillon, so. Yeah, I mean, I would say so. And especially because also you have the youngest wide receiver room in the league. Your tight end, Musgrave, he's really young. And plus he went into the concussion protocol last game. And the play calling hasn't been great. The first couple of weeks, actually, I thought LaFleur was really creative. I don't know what last week was. But yeah, that's been a big surprise for me, actually, especially with a young quarterback.
And that's the thing, right? And we talk about this. Not only is there pressure on Jordan Love, there's pressure on Matt LaFleur. You would bet your bottom dollar he's feeling pressure too, because to this point it's been, Aaron Rodgers bailed out another head coach. He bailed out McCarthy, he bailed out LaFleur. Now you're going to see LaFleur's not as good as everybody thought because Aaron Rodgers is so great. So I guarantee you Matt LaFleur has heard that all offseason long. And I'm sure he heard it while Rodgers was here about this is Rodgers' offense. LaFleur's just a puppet. He does what Rodgers says. And LaFleur got no credit for all those 13-3 years. It was all Aaron. Well, now is his chance to kind of separate himself and go, no, I actually am pretty damn good. I don't suck like y'all think I do because I had a Hall of Fame quarterback. So to me, I think there might be more pressure on LaFleur to get this right than there is even on Jordan Love, where expectations aren't that great to begin with.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, and like that's the thing. They're almost kind of like a package deal here. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Jordan Love has to look good under Matt LaFleur because as crazy as it is, and LaFleur won 13 games, 3 consecutive seasons. He's coaching NFC championship games. Nobody's job safe in the NFL. Now, the thing that LaFleur, I think, has work in his favor, I would say, is that he coaches in Green Bay and there's not real ownership, you know what I mean? And he's Goot's guy. So
there's no Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different for Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus could be out by next year. You know what I mean? I think that Matt LaFleur, and his resume helps, has a little bit longer of a leash. But yeah, I mean, and we're hearing that from some people we thought we were going to get the Matt LaFleur offense and it was going to look so much better. This kind of looks like the Aaron Rodgers offense all over again. So this is a big year for LaFleur. And then next year's another big year for LaFleur, I would say.
I can't believe how much he's running out of shotgun. I can't believe how much they're running 4 wide. I can't believe how much he's running empty set. I'll be honest. I think we all thought we're going to have more 2-back sets, more Dillon and Jones on the field together at some point. Maybe they incorporate a fullback at some point with Jones, who knows? But it would be more run-centric, more run design plays, kind of, maybe a guard or a tackle goes in motion or guard goes in motion like Harbaugh did for the Niners. You do some creative things on the run, and then it's all play action to get Jordan Love some easy looks, and that's how they move the football. And like you said, that's not been the case. It's been exactly what Rodgers was running, which is we're going to wing it all over the place, shotgun. We're going to take our deep shots and then see what happens. And is it that the smart play to do with this quarterback in this offense? I tend to lean no. I think coming into the year, you wanted Love to throw about 25 times a game. If you would have told me before the year he'd be throwing 35 to 40, I'd be saying they're probably not going to win a ton. It's his first year as a starter. He's going to make mistakes. The young receivers, the tight ends, they're going to make mistakes. You're not really giving them the best chance of success unless they play way better than everybody thinks.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree, man. And that's
the best podcast ever. You said yep to me 3 or 4 times in a row. I am on a roll. That's what happens when I eat lunch before I do this. Okay, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with what you said, Yeah, I don't really have anything to add on that one.
Good. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this offensive line, which is not going to make anybody feel all the better. So Bakhtiari, the Packers coaching staff is zip tight on this one. They're not talking about it, right? Okay, he's not available this week. Yeah, injury list, whatever. But we're not having a conversation about whether or not his season is over, whether or not there's a second surgery, like Ian Rappaport had been hinting at, and so forth. So they're kind of putting it all, behind the closed doors. I have not yet to see. And again, we're Tuesday, so we'll figure this out by Friday, I'm sure, what that offensive line is going to look like. My thought is that Matt LaFleur is going to run the same offensive line out that played last week. He's going to come back against the Raiders and say, Rasheed Walker, you get one more chance at this at left tackle. And let's see what happens. And if he holds his own against the Raiders, I think he gets to keep the job. If he doesn't, and he gets beat badly, like he got beat badly last week in that last game, then against the Lions and Hutchinson, if he gets beat badly again, then I think there's going to be wholesale changes in the bye week, and that line will look completely different coming out against the Denver Broncos the week after the bye week. But I think they give Walker one more chance at left tackle to prove whether or not he can hold that position the rest of the year, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, right? Because had a good camp. I mean, again, I'm not at practice every single day, but I mean, looked like he had a good enough camp. He's a young player. He's trying to figure out a new system here. So, yeah, I think you have to. And look around the league, man, there's a lot of teams with offensive line problems right now, mainly at the tackle position. And there's a lot of injuries at that position. So if there were just guys available that you could go sign off the street, other teams would probably beat you to the punch. So they're just not there. So I think you have to see. And the good thing is, he's young enough, he's inexperienced, and you see that there is a ceiling there. Whereas with some of these other guys, not going to name any names like Royce Newman, that there is no ceiling, because I don't understand why we continue to trot him out there, because we know what he is. But yeah, with Rasheed, man, I think that there's some good there, and I think that there's some inexperience there. So he's the least of my worries right now.
That's the other thing too. When we talk about this offense and this offensive line, they have the number one pass blocking line in football. If we do this, what do we think of everybody after 3 games? The line probably gets an A or an A+. If they're number one in football at pass blocking, that's their main deal here. So from that perspective, they would have gotten an A. But then they play the Lions and look god awful. And it wasn't just Rasheed Walker. Running didn't look good in that game. There wasn't much to be happy about in that game from an offensive line perspective. I think overall, when you look at this offensive line, considering they've lost Elton Jenkins a couple games ago, they've been without Bakhtiari the whole time. I think I'd probably give him a B- somewhere in that area so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, Pro Football Focus, man, they had him as the number one offensive line just a week ago. That wasn't a great performance against Detroit, but I think also, again, man, it was a short week, and I think that says a little bit more about where Detroit's at right now. That defensive line is really good. They're number 5 against the run. They're getting pressure at a 35% clip. So it's not just Green Bay that they did that against. That's every team in the league. And it was, a short week, and you just found out about Bakhtiari's status for the rest of the season. You had to place him on the IR. You didn't have Jenkins. So I'm not going to worry too much. And that's why I want to see another week. I want to see, a couple more weeks actually, because the Lions, I just think they're really good, man. And we always talk about their offense, but I don't think enough people are talking about their defense and what that defensive line's been able to do here.
Right. And that's the thing, right? So from that perspective, coming off of this Lions game, there's a bitter taste in your mouth. You got dominated essentially for most of the game, especially in that first half. And now you're not going to play a great team in the Raiders. You're not going to play a great team in the Broncos. You're not going to play a great team in the Vikings. So you're really now going to either really look good again, like you did in that first week against the Bears, which hopefully this offense does move the football like they did against the Bears these next 3 weeks or these next 3 games, because you had that bye week. But then what is it going to be? Is it going to be, I don't buy it. Yeah, they're beating up on bad teams. So what? That doesn't mean Jordan Love and this offense is that good. Yeah, they're protecting them, but they're 3 crappy teams. The Raiders, the Broncos, the Vikings. Oh, stop. Let me see them play a real good team. And that may be the reaction from those outside of the Packer fan base, and maybe some inside the Packer fan base that don't believe in Jordan Love and the offense. But if they go and they win their next 3, which I think all 3 are winnable, Ryan, all of a sudden you're 5-2 after 7, regardless of who you've played and who you've beat. You're feeling really good about yourself if you're 5-2 after 7. And there's no doubt in my mind they could be 5-2 after 7.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, man, and then you're right there in the NFC because other than the Detroit Lions, who unfortunately are in your division, you have San Francisco, you have the Saints, but yeah, I think these are going to be winnable games. So, yeah, for sure. I'm completely with you. I mean, man, anybody would sign up for that, right? Especially in the
Right.
NFC. Now, in the AFC, man, you could win 10, 11 games and maybe you don't make the playoffs, but in the NFC, you get there, you're good. So, yeah, that's what you want to see right now, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, let's see here. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. That defensive line, right? Kenny Clark gets moved over. TJ Sladen is in the middle. Devontae Wyatt is there. They've rotating in a couple of rookie defensive linemen as well. How would you kind of grade those defensive linemen out so far through the first 4 games? Kenny Clark in his new position. I mean, I think he's had a play or two. I don't know if he's consistently necessarily been around the quarterback every game. Sladen has gotten some push, I would say. Wyatt has kind of flashed. I think Brooks has flashed more than anybody on the defensive line, the rookie out of Bowling Green.
Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty impressive, to be honest with you, especially like Kenny Clark has showed some signs of like being Kenny Clark all over again. I'd say pretty solid, man. I mean, like, again, though, you pop on the Detroit tape and like when you step up in class, I still like there's too many holes. There's some missed tackles right there. But yeah, like Slayton, those guys have been pretty impressive overall. I really like Wyatt. I think he has the highest ceiling, right? I would have to say on that team, obviously. I mean, he's a first round type pick, SEC type player. Yeah, I think all these guys have been pretty impressive. To be honest with you. But, I want to see that when they step up in class here, obviously, against good defenses. Or, I'm sorry, against good offenses for sure.
Right, but you're not going to see good offenses. Raiders aren't a good offense.
Well, they're a good offense, actually. I mean, like, they were like the number 5 passing efficiency offense just last week. They could score.
But I don't know if Jimmy G is going to be available. I mean, it's very well not going to be. As of yesterday, he was still in concussion protocol. So if Jimmy G doesn't play, it's a rookie quarterback, and that changes everything, I think, for the Raiders, even though the kid got one start, the kid from Purdue. And then after that, it's Denver. Russell Wilson's only really been good against this crappy Bears defense, and it took him a half to figure that out. So I don't really get too concerned about the Broncos offense. And then the week after that is the Vikings. Madison finally played okay. Is that legit? I don't know. I mean, Justin Jefferson obviously is a huge threat for the Vikings 3 games from now, but I don't know if they have any really truly elite offenses on the schedule. To who? Kansas City? And is Kansas City even an elite offense? I mean, they don't have any real super names at wide receiver. They just got a Hall of Famer at quarterback that makes everything work.
Yeah.
And Kelsey,
I'm looking. I had to pull it up right now because I was like stumped there for a second. So Devontae Wyatt, Pro Football Focus, 53rd out of 129. TJ Slaton, 43rd out of 129 has been pretty good. Kenny Clark, 48th out of 129 has been pretty good.
That's 3 almost in the top 50.
Yeah. Lucas Van Ness is 77th out of 111th, but he hasn't really played, right? So like they've graded out a little bit better than I even thought, man, to be honest with you. And like Carl Brooks is graded out 69th out of 129.
Yep. Carl Brooks played well.
Yeah. So yeah, some of these guys have actually been a little bit better. I had to go back because I was like, see, that's the problem is when you have a game like Detroit, like in the back of your mind, now I need to go back and like think about the Saints game or go back and watch that run defense against Chicago because everything just kind of really annoyed me against Detroit. I just felt like I was watching the same team that I've watched the last 3 years. And then yesterday, like, the Joe Barry stuff where like, if it's so easy just to correct, then correct it, man. Like, that's what drives me nuts about this defense. But you're right, man. They have graded out pretty damn good.
Right. Okay, let's talk about the cornerbacks room because there's big news. Eric Stokes back, it appears, at practice and very well going to play this week. Adding Eric Stokes back, how big of a deal is that for you?
That is a huge deal. Like, I mean, you kind of have just been like making do with what you've had in the secondary. Stokes getting him back on the field. And that's kind of what we said coming into the season. All the doctors that I was listening to that were talking about that injury said, when he does come back, he'll probably be like a shell of himself until we get to like week 11, week 12. And man, the season's kind of flying by. So getting him back out there will be huge. Getting Jair back out there will obviously be huge because the pass defense, that's supposedly the strength of this team, right? Out of all the guys that Brian Gutekunst has drafted. So That'll help the defensive line that we just talked about. That'll help the pass rush. You'll be able to get some more pressure on the quarterback when you get guys like that. And Stokes, like right now, you kind of have to give him an incomplete grade as far as a draft pick because he looked really good as a rookie, then was shaky last year, but then he got hurt. So I'm really excited to see what he could do, man. See him back out there and see, is he the player that we saw year one out of Georgia, or is he the guy that struggled last year? So really, that's huge getting him back out there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that is a big deal going forward. The safety position, I would say the safety position has played as expected. That would be my take on this. Savage looked good for a game or two. I don't think he's been all that great necessarily since then. Rudy Ford, had that interception in the last game. I'm not overly impressed with the safety play.
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing I'll say about Savage is at least he's giving effort this season. Like he's trying to at least make a play. Right. But yeah, he's just not an every down type player, man. He's not very good. And then like Ruby Ford, like these guys are kind of just are what they are, right? I mean, they're probably backups on a good team or special teams players. Although I don't even know about that because none of them could tackle. So yeah, I mean, we said that coming into the season though. Like I didn't like the play. So I've been almost like pleasantly surprised just because I didn't have expectations to begin with, and at least Savage the first couple of weeks, like against Chicago, made some plays. So
all right, last thing, because I know you got to get to work as well for BetMGM tonight. The person that's made me the happiest, and I thought he was possibly the worst. Anders Carlson, man. What up? What up, Anders Carlson, the field goal kicker. And even the punter Wheelan, he's done really well too. I mean, I am pleased as punch that this field goal kicker thing has worked out so far. Now, again, he hasn't kicked in snow. We haven't kicked in rain. We haven't kicked in wind at Lambeau. Those are all going to be challenges once we get to that point. So far, he's had good weather everywhere he's kicked, but he's kicked a hell of a lot better than he did in training camp and preseason. We're not missing extra points. We're not missing things way wide right or way wide left. Nothing like that. He is the guy I'm most happy with, I would say, on this Packers roster through 4 weeks. And I know that's crazy to be that happy about a kicker, but I'm that damn happy about a kicker. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's been all right, man. Like, you're all excited about like the weirdest stuff, like, I mean, sure. He's been okay. He's done his job. He's went out there and made field goals. He hasn't cost us a game yet. Let's pump the brakes though. Because they're 2-2. He hasn't really been, let's see what happens here when he's got to make a game winner at Lambeau Field in the cold weather. But yeah, I mean, come on, man. Like, honestly, watching those games and watching the practice reports and following guys like Andy Herman at practice, it didn't look very good. So You're right. But the minute that I say something and put something positive into the atmosphere, he's going to cost us. So yes, pleasantly surprised so far. But as far as like, the thing that I'm most surprised or most happy about on the team, no, it's not the kicker. I don't know who it would be. Oh, you know what? I like Jaden Reed a lot.
Okay. All right. The wide receiver from Michigan State? Yeah. Yeah, I like him.
I don't like A.J. Dillon. I don't necessarily love anybody on the offensive line.
Time out. I'm glad you brought up A.J. Dillon. Did you see the Packers worked out James Robinson, the running back that was with Jacksonville? Would you sign him? Because they have a practice squad open. Would you sign him to the practice squad with the idea of possibly having him be the second running back behind Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I'd at least give him a look. I don't know what's going on with James Robinson, though, because a couple of years ago, he had like 1,200 yards rushing out of Illinois State as a rookie. And then, got hurt, wasn't the guy in Jacksonville anymore because they drafted ETN. And then remember, the Patriots signed him, though, and then they just cut him before the season even began. So I'm wondering if he's just washed or he's lost a step. But I'd give him a look. Even if he is washed, he can't be any worse than A.J. Dillon.
Right. Yeah, and it's a more veteran player than Eugene Wilson, who's behind him right now, or Patrick Taylor. Like, to me, it makes, again, or there could be off-field stuff that people don't want to deal with him because he's got his own thing going on off the field. I don't know why he's not been picked up, but if he shows you anything, he goes out of the practice squad, and I see what it looks like on game day, and you have a bye week coming up. So really, you've got 2 weeks to kind of get him up to speed before you get on that next stretch against the Broncos and the Vikings, where maybe he could play a factor. Horvat, what's coming up on Tuesday night's BetMGM Tonight show with you, Trista Crick and Nick Ashu?
The baseball playoffs, so I should probably look at who's playing and dive into that today. Talk some college football, some NFL, whole lot of everything, Sparky. That's the beautiful thing about our show is it's 4 hours every night of just live betting content. So you get a little bit of everything.
I always try and tune in when there's WNBA talk. He is Ryan Horvat. Tweet at him at Ryan Horvat. Joking. It's a total joke.
No. That is coming up tonight, though. Segment 3.
That's Sparky Radio on Twitter. I love poking at Ryan Horvat. Hey, our next podcast, we're gonna talk with Bill Williamson, who covers the Las Vegas Raiders, covered them back to their Oakland days, used to cover the Broncos, used to cover the Packers back at the Appleton Post Crescent, back in the Brett Favre days. He'll join us on the next Curtin Long podcast talking some Raider football. So make sure to tune in for that. Download it on your Odyssey app, Curtin Long, wherever you download your favorite podcast, and of course the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Have a good one. Toodles.